That's happening now. That's quite exciting.
So I'm sure we've all had a chance to view all the brilliant posters that have been up over the last 2 days. A lot of people put a lot of work into their research, and it's been a very diverse collection of research from these people. So we wanted to take a minute to introduce Neil, and he's going to be going through the awards for the poster exhibitions, and we'll let him do that.
I don't know if he's really gotten a good round of applause yet.
It's a great pleasure to be introduced, but I think that some of you have gotten to know me over the last few days. It's a real pleasure for us on the organizing committee. Actually, is Rob Alder here? No, okay. I was going to get Rob, or maybe Donald. Donald, could you come up here? Because Donald has been really instrumental in terms of our research committee, and in terms of looking at posters and developing evaluation criteria. He's done a lot of international work himself, and so he helped develop some of our evaluation criteria. So we've got 3 people that we're giving little tokens to, and I'd like to have them come up too. So Dr. Sharon Koivu, Sharon, I think, is here, or I told her that we were... Yes, she is, okay. And Sunisha Neopane and Ju-Yun Lee. So these are the ones who had outstanding posters and presentations. I won't even rank where they were, but we've just got little thank yous. But also, maybe I'll get Donald to just talk a little bit about evaluation criteria and what you found special. And then I'd like each of you to say just 2 or 3 sentences about your research. So you were used to compressing that into 10 minutes or so, and now you've got to do it in about 1 minute. So Sunisha's was on phone-based monitoring and evaluation systems to support community health workers in South Africa. Sunisha has Nepali origins, but was working in South Africa. And Ju-Yun was doing work with North Korean refugees, perspective on health that was developed when she was a master's student in global health at McMaster University. And Sharon now does palliative care and has a public health background, having been a medical officer of health. And so she was doing work on barriers to treatment of patients' infections who use IV drugs. So I'll let Donald talk about the evaluation criteria, and then have each of you tell us a little bit about your research if people didn't get a chance to see your poster.
Neil's good at surprises, so I wasn't expecting to have to explain the criteria, but I'm sure you all looked at these posters, and I think what was wonderful is that the posters are terrific. There's a whole lot of very good ones who are not up on the stage, so the criteria and the choice about who gets the prize was not easy. But essentially it's about creativity, quality, clarity, and contributing to the very aims of this meeting in terms of the global health, sustainability, and peace. So all of those criteria were part of how the decision was made, and it wasn't an easy one. So I would just congratulate the winners and ask you to come up and talk a little about what you did. So please.
Thank you. You said 3 minutes. Those who know me know that's torture. But I work as a palliative care physician, and about 3 years ago, I had a patient that died of endocarditis related to her IV drug addiction. And our hospital at that time was in what I'd call pre-contemplation. We thought we were doing everything right. We were very patriarchal. We were telling people what to do. And we had, the traditional agreements with patients. But we did a survey, and what that was we really went to the street essentially and did a survey of people who use IV drugs. And a couple of the real highlights that we found out were people that were getting infections, 80% of them had never shared needles. So we had to really understand harm reduction. But the really thing that kind of helped change the hospital was that of the people we interviewed, none of the people that had been in hospital had ever had any counseling about IV drug addiction. None of them had been referred to a methadone clinic, and none of them had ever received any counseling on harm reduction. So of all these people that I now see with end-stage endocarditis, in all of their involvements with the medical profession, they had never really had any opportunity to learn and to help with their treatment. So that was what our research was. That research essentially was the initiative to take our hospital from a complacency perspective to a much improvement in our treatment plan. So thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. My team, we developed a cell phone-based survey system to help and enhance community-based services and help community health workers to do their job easily and quickly and make the data more available for health managers. We also did evaluation of how paper-based system compares with the phone-based system, and which provides more supervision opportunities and which gives more opportunity to track referrals that is done in clinics via community health workers. Thank you so much for encouraging me throughout the weekend. Thanks.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm just really happy that I got to come here and let this community know that North Korean refugees exist in Canada, especially in Toronto. There are 1,000 to 2,000 of them. And I'm just really happy to let you guys know that they're a marginalized community, that they need help, they need attention, and I'm just so glad to have been here and on this podium to say thank you. That's all.
So we'll say thank you to our winners, but also to everyone who gave us a poster and gave us a chance to read about it. So thank you.
So how was dinner? Good. All right, well, now we get to get a little bit closer to the exciting part of our evening and the address that's coming forward. We did want to, however, frame the discussion that we're going to be having. And I think the only real way to do that is to sort of provide a good visual context to some things. So we do have a couple videos that we wanted to show, okay? And, you know, the horrific journey that Malala did go through perhaps helped shape the inspiring individual that she is today, but I think it's important to recognize that journey. So this first video is one that documents it, produced by the ABC, but it does document that journey that she made.
Person of the week. There was another name on the short list for the Nobel Peace Prize today. Malala, 16 years old, the youngest nominee. She was shot because she spoke up for the 31 million girls around the world who cannot get an education. Her new book is I Am Malala. And tonight, the miracles, the reason she survived that bullet from the Taliban. Two men approach a Pakistani school bus like this one, men with beards and a gun, a Colt 45. One of them climbs on the bus and asks a question. Who is Malala? She doesn't remember what happened next, but her friend described the moment.
He fired three bullets, and one hit you on the left side of my head. I would have been doing like this. So I hide my face because there was gunpowder on my fingers.
She is bleeding, in grave condition, but 2 hours pass before a helicopter can deliver her from the local hospital to a military surgeon. He spends 5 hours trying to relieve the swelling on her brain and remove tiny clots. By a strange coincidence, there is someone in Pakistan for the first time. A top specialist in pediatric trauma from England, Dr. Fiona Reynolds. with her colleague, Dr. Javid Kayani. They've been sitting in long governmental meetings on medical programs when suddenly Dr. Reynolds is told to race out and try to save the life of a famous and dying child. The tubes have given Malala an infection. The machines are improperly set. Her blood isn't clotting. Her lungs and kidneys are beginning to fail.
She had become septic. It was obvious that she had a very serious life-threatening infection.
Dr. Reynolds makes a risky recommendation to take the gravely ill girl on an 8-hour trip to a high-tech hospital in England. From another Muslim country comes a life-giving offer. The Emir of the United Arab Emirates sends one of his royal planes outfitted as a hospital, a state-of-the-art intensive care unit. And for the entire 8-hour flight to England, Dr. Reynolds and Dr. Kayani keep Malala alive breath by breath, organ by organ. And they also have noticed something else that defies possibility. The bullet took a path that simply cannot be believed.
The chances of being shot at point-blank range in the head and that happening, I don't know. But it is amazing, truly amazing. I don't know why she survived.
Maybe his hand was shaky.
He hit her there.
So it goes under the skin, near the skull. A bullet traveling 1,000 feet per second slips under Malala's skin. But as it heads toward her brain, that bone turns out to be so strong and curved, it forces the bullet to ricochet away and instead smashes her eardrum, severs the nerve in her face, and hits her shoulder.
The fact that she didn't die on the spot or very soon afterwards, and to my mind, is nothing short of miraculous.
Miracle?
If you believe in miracles, yes, absolutely.
Maybe it's the backbone and here's the brain, and God saved me.
But still, doctors have no idea if she'll ever walk or see or be able to speak again. They are amazed when moments after her eyes open, she uses a letterboard to spell out in English the words country and then father. Ahead of her, 3 months of punishing therapy and more surgery to reconnect the nerve in her face. Through it all, Dr. Reynolds notes of her young patient.
I have never seen Malala cry, never. She is incredibly stoical. She had to have some sutures in her wound in her scalp, and she also had to have a needle to drain some infected fluid from her neck. And on both occasions, she didn't wince, she didn't cry, she didn't even squeeze my hand when they were sticking needles into her.
I didn't cry because now I totally changed after that incident. But I don't know how did I change. I don't know what happened to me.
But I have to say, who can do this? We all cry.
I was feeling that this is a new life.
Malala says she thinks death just wasn't ready for her.
I think death didn't want to kill me, and God was with me, and the people prayed for me.
And so we choose Malala Yousafzai.
I'm sure none of us could imagine how that must be for her father, her family, her community. Perhaps what is most remarkable about Malala's recovery was her ability to inspire not only her community, but her voice has reached the larger global community and the hearts of people young and old.
With that voice, we have a short video that we'll show now of Malala.
I'm very well now, and I'm feeling better every day. And my recovery is also going very well because in Birmingham, I'm in a very good hospital, and the doctors are taking care of me. I'm in a very good school. It's a girls' school, fortunately and unfortunately. I'm learning a lot, and I know that the schedule is busy, and I don't get time to do my homework on time, but I still try my best. I like physics because you learn about the universe, you learn about atoms, you go deep into each particle of matter, and then you go like beyond this earth and you see something new, things that you can't even imagine, and people have discovered it. And also I like scientists like Newton and like Einstein, and it's really nice to learn about these theories and laws which the whole universe is obeying. Usually girls don't go to school because of many issues. One is poverty, then there's child labor, then also the cultural issues and the taboos and the norms, because of which they think that it's not a girl's job to earn money or to do a business or to go to school. They think that a girl is just being born for helping her brother or her father or her husband and then just taking care of her children. But the fact is that we need to change this idea, and we need to bring a change in people's mind as well. I want to continue this campaign for education through the Malala Fund, because we have set up Malala Fund to help every girl, not only girls but every child, to go to school. And we have already started our first project in Swat, through which we are educating 40 girls, and these girls were suffering from domestic child labor, and now they're going to school, so it's like a kind of happiness for me. I would like to give a message to every girl who is listening to me now, that you should believe in your talent, in your potential that you have, and you should never lose hope. Just trust yourself, because you can do anything. You can be a leader, you can be a doctor, an engineer, whatever you like, just trust yourself. My mother is very nice. I don't mention her a lot, but she's very courageous, she's brave, and she always encouraged me and my father to speak for our rights and to speak for women's rights and girls' education, and especially to speak for peace.
So inspiring.
Wow. Our honored guest, Ziauddin Yousafzai, an educator, a human rights campaigner, a social activist. He hails from Pakistan's Swat Valley, where, at great personal risk among grave political violence, he peacefully resisted the Taliban's efforts to shut down schools and kept open his own school. Since college as a student leader, Ziauddin, who has stood up for rights of those who cannot speak for themselves. When the Taliban started banning girls' education and blasting schools in his hometown, many powerful people chose to stay silent. Ziauddin spoke up on national and international media, resisting these atrocities, and promoting the rights of children's education and peace through active pacifism. His courage and passion inspired many people, including his own daughter, Malala Yousafzai, to join him in standing up for human rights, the right of freedom, the right of education, and the right of every child to attend school.
So our guest tonight has also actually made quite an incredible TED Talk, and I wanted to get a show of hands to see whether anyone's had the opportunity yet to see this, because I know that I have. For those of you that haven't yet, TED.com, you can find his TED Talk under his name, but I think we're even more uniquely special tonight to be able to hear that in person and probably hear a little bit even more of what he has to say. One piece from that TED Talk that stood out for me was him saying, "Before Malala was my daughter, now I am Malala's father." So ladies and gentlemen, to introduce Ziauddin, we have a good friend of his, Jehan Zeb, to introduce Ziauddin. Thank you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And I think Ziauddin is already introduced by Gina and Thomas. So he doesn't need introduction, but I have few lines for him. Ziauddin is my friend, my brother. And now, as was mentioned, how should I introduce Ziauddin? Is he father of Malala, or is Malala Ziauddin's daughter? We're going to listen on that. As we heard from Gina and Thomas, Ziauddin started his struggle at very young age, though he is still young. For the last 30 years, I'm witness to his struggle, that how he is doing, he brings peace to his own community and to the children of Swat, and how he's building civil society there. And as we are talking about this remarkable young man, Ziauddin, and our daughter Malala, and your daughter Malala, because Ziauddin is telling us Malala is no more my daughter. Malala is everyone's daughter. Malala's is everyone's sister. But let's talk about another person tonight. Though we are talking about Ziauddin, but we have another person. Her name is Pekai, Malala's mom. If you can clap for her. And Pekai is my sister because I often talk to her. And when I talk to her, I feel that encouragement and that support. And you know how Ziauddin and Malala got that courage. That is because of Pekai. When Malala was at hospital, Ziauddin at some point lost hope and to certain extent faith that Malala may not recover. But Pekai provided him the support. No, Malala will recover, and we know that happened, that miracle happened, and Malala is with us. And we are going to, Ziauddin, I hope he is going to share some of his family stories, but there are two other people, very naughty boys, Khushal and Atal, which makes Malala annoyed. But I think those two boys provide hope and this vibrancy to the family, and therefore Malala is going, Ziauddin is going, though they are in strange land, but with these two boys, they are no more in strange land of Birmingham. I think if I talk for whole night, I will not give podium to Ziauddin, so let's give a warm Canadian welcome to Ziauddin.
Good evening. Thank you, Jana and Thomas. Thank you, Jahan Zeb and Dr. Neil. Everybody who is here in this hall. I'm really very excited. And you may expect me to speak shortly like Joe, Maryland, but I'll speak a bit longer. When I was asked that you will come and you will give some talk to PEGASUS Conference, so I asked Jahan Zeb that, what will I talk about? So he told me that you may talk about Malala moment. So the theme of my this evening talk is the tragedy of Swat and Malala moment. So the first part of the theme is very important, the tragedy of Swat and Malala moment. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm one of the millions, and my family is one of the millions of targets or victims of global terrorism. And I am the most fortunate displaced person, or you may call a refugee, whatever you say me, but I'm out of my country. I have been uprooted. Because I can go to the big conferences like this. Think of the millions of people who are not being heard even, who can't reach to the power corridors. Hardly big so-called world leaders put themselves in trouble to go to the refugee camps. And hardly any big conference or any big UN agency called them to Geneva or New York, a family from the tents, a family from the camps. So There are more than 10 million refugees at this moment all over the world. More than 10 million. It's a lot of people. And only more than 1 million people are displaced, internally displaced in my own country. I was displaced. Zahur's family, who is here, might have been displaced. For 3 months, we were displaced in 2009. We were 2.6 million people. So this Swat Valley, the tragedy of Swat, it can be taken as a case study in very idiotic term. A case study how people get their social life, their community life, and their societies. How do they prey to conflicts, to disputes, and how their heavens are turned into hells? How it happens? That's why I think it's important to share with you the background of the Swat tragedy, how it happened. You see, Swat, when I love when I talk about Swat, and I love to listen to people who talk about Swat. As a lover listens about his beloved. When you talk to some lover who is far away from his near and dear, and you talk about his or him, her or him, he is deeply absorbed in that conversation. So whoever talks about Swat, I love it. My daughter says that she believes in 2 paradises. I will quote her. One is on this earth, that is Swat. And what we Muslims believe, and everybody believes, I think, almost, that there is another world. And that is, we will get paradise there. Swat is the most beautiful place in Pakistan. It has tall, beautiful mountains, lush green fields, cataracts, springs, rivers, gardens, and gemstones, emeralds. I think what God has, what nature has, what nature can bestow upon a piece of land has been given to us. And not only in terms of natural beauty, in terms of rich cultural heritage and civilization, it's an amazing place. The Buddhists had 1,400 stupas in Swat. I have myself seen the Buddhist followers, the Buddha followers coming from Far East, from China, from Sri Lanka, and from many other countries, and they used to perform their pilgrimage, their Hajj, in Swat. It has been a center, a spiritual center for the Buddhists and Sikh and Hindus. But that beautiful place, that beautiful paradise on this earth, which was a heaven for the tourist for decades, was turned into a hills. Not only for the tourists, they can't go there, for the inhabitants of that very valley. How did it happen? To my observation, to my thinking, and in my experience, I think 3 big factors are, 3 big stakeholders are responsible for the tragedy of Swat. the first responsibility, first and foremost responsible is the state we lived in. Because, you know, Pakistan came into being in 1947. India was divided, and India and Pakistan came into being in 1947. Until 1969, Swat was an independent state. From 1947 till 1969, Swat was an independent state, and the state was founded by a father, and he brought peace to the state, and then he was followed by his son, Jahan Zeb, who brought prosperity to the state of Swat. And we had a wonderful, amazing kingdom. I personally don't like kingdoms because I believe in democracy. I love democracy. But at that time, Swat was a kingdom. It was a principality, and for 52 years, it was an independent small state with its mother tongue Pashto as its official language, with its own culture, norms, traditions, music, literature, everything. The only problem that we could not speak against the king. That was a big problem, of course. But it was not a cruel kingdom. It was a social welfare. Almost the king cared about his people. His son cared about his people. And what happened when we merged with Pakistan in 1969, many of our previous generation, I was born in 1969. The year we merged with Pakistan, I born on that very year. And the great, the great hope or the great interest of the people of free people of Pakistan, Swat, they thought that when we will be merged in Pakistan, we will have a democracy. So more people will have a share in power. But it didn't happen. We were disillusioned because in state time, our kings concentrated on three life services: education, health, and communication. The kings established a best infrastructure, a very sound infrastructure for education, for health, and for communication. And then when we merged, all the government schools, their standard went down. Every institution declined. Every institution. Health, in state time, people received great standard health services in their hospitals. They did not spend a single penny, and they had first-class health services. And when we merged in Pakistan, health became a private business. I apologize to the doctors, but doctors in our valley, and they had started clinics, and the facilities in the hospitals were gone. I remember there's some headquarter hospitals didn't have a thermometer to check the fever of a patient. The hospitals in state era, which gave everything, tablets, services to the patients, when we merged, it had no facility for the patients. So in the health sector, a disappointment, a frustration. started in people. That's how we link global health and global peace and global education and all these things. And about education, in the kingdom time, when the kings were there, till 1969, we had a wonderful system of schools. The king himself used to go to schools. And whenever he found any teacher or any principal misfit, he fired him at that moment. You go to your home, please. Because he was a king. But he gave big rewards to the good teachers. So that reward and punishment system was gone. And court litigations, court suits, people's disputes, which were resolved in a very short time, in state time, in kingdom time, they were prolonged in Pakistani social justice system, in court justice system. They took decades. So people got deprived and they got suppressed and they got marginalized because of the bad education system. Education became a private business, and I was one of its entrepreneurs later on. Because education was for sale then. And the government institutions, schools, they dropped down. So, and as the state responsibility, and one more important thing, I should talk about it. Swat was a kingdom. We were ruled by a family, but they took a great care of the people to keep people happy and prosperous. They were very broad-minded kings. It was a kind of welfare state. But when we joined Pakistan, Pakistan was not a welfare state, it was a security state. It had no agenda for the people. People were nowhere. People's health, people's education, people's security, people's life, people's honor, it was nowhere. So we were the citizens of a welfare kingdom before 1969, and later we became the inhabitants and the citizens of a security state. Security was the top priority. I can't go into the details because it would take a lot of time, what that means, but you can understand. And unfortunately, in 1969, we are merged with Pakistan, and in 1979, just after 10 years, Russia occupies Afghanistan. And the democracy for which we joined Pakistan, we got the worst experience of dictators. Dictators after dictators, dictators after dictators. In 1979, an elected Prime Minister, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, was hanged, and General Ziaul Haq, he became the dictator, the third dictator of Pakistan. And in that very scenario, you just look. I don't only need your ears, I need your imagination, please. In that very scenario, when Soviet Union is there in Afghanistan, and America, CIA is going to launch a proxy war in Afghanistan through Pakistan, and our establishment gets involved because there are billions of dollars. People are nowhere there, the people of Pakistan. And then we see that a marginalization, radicalization is being started of our society. On the one hand, in America, in Nebraska University, they work on a curriculum how to radicalize, how to jihadize the Pashtun belt, especially in Afghanistan and the Pashtun belt and the whole Pakistan in general, how to jihadize them, how to radicalize them. So they work on a curriculum where 5 plus 5 guns are equal to 10 guns. Where if a Muslim kills 10 Soviet soldiers, 10 soldiers from the Red Army, how many will be left? So it was a systematic agenda to radicalize generations. And what happens, this happens in the camps of Afghanistan who were there in Iran and in Pakistan. And what happens with the curriculum of Pakistan? I remember I was in year, we call it class in Pakistan, you call it grade or year. I was in year 7 or 8, 12, 13 years old. At that time, we had diniyat. Diniyat means theology of all, Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, Sikhism, whatever. So we used to study about many religions in our curriculum. And what this dictator did, he turned diniyat into Islamiyat. That you will only study Islam and jihad, particularly in Islam. So the generation was jihadized. And this was the time, you see, I had a theology teacher in the mosque, and I pray for him because he taught me so many good things as well. I should be respectful to my teachers always. He did it. He might have done it unconsciously because he might have not known that what he is teaching to me, whose agenda it is. He inculcated in my mind and my brain jihad too much. He radicalized me to the extent when I was in year 9 that I used to pray to God when I was 14 years old. After every prayer, we perform and we say prayers five times. And my father was a cleric, a Malala. He leads prayers in the mosque. He was very punctual, very regular. And because part of his family, I had to go to the mosque and I had to say 5 times prayer. And after every prayer, I used to pray to God, oh God, make some fight between the Muslims and non-Muslim. And I want to die. I want to be a martyr. I was still peaceful. I didn't want to kill anyone. I wanted to be killed. Look, when you institutionalize militancy, when you institutionalize intolerance, when you institutionalize sectarianism, this was done by General Muhammad Ziauddin. And I was an individual in a far-flung village of Swat Shangla. That was the effect of that curriculum on me. And what happened, there were some comrades in my neighborhood. They were on the other extreme. So I became in the mid, I remained at the mid. Not that extreme and that extreme. Then I used to pray to God, oh God, give me a long life. Later on, after 4 or 5 years. You see, so this was the scenario when we needed, for example, we needed a quality education for transformation of our society. At a stage when the people of Swat needed democracy, a real democracy, and a very quality education for the transformation of their society, our children in Afghanistan and Pakistan, they were indoctrinated. And I usually tell, better to be illiterate than to be indoctrinated. Because I think a quality education, as some of your doctors, if not all, you know, we have an immune system in our body which fights against different diseases. You all know about cholera and malaria and typhoid and dengue and AIDS and cancer. But we have social diseases as well, which are very harmful for the health of society, like intolerance, illiteracy, ignorance, biases, prejudices, narrow-sightedness, superstitions. Zahur is here, and when there were terrible floods in 2010, and then we had, before that, we had earthquakes in 2008, I think, or 9, sorry. So some of the people, they used to say that you look, these floods and these earthquakes, it is because our women go to the marketplaces very openly. And these floods came because we had a musical gala in Kalam. Oh, we enjoyed music, and God became very furious. That's why he just let floods on the people. Many people, God forbid, I want to see peace in Canada and in New York, everywhere in this world. We have great dancing resorts, and I never saw God fury in England or in Australia. Why he gets furious when people in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa dance or they enjoy music? So in such kind of superstitious kinds of environment, you need a quality education. You need the thoughts of Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, Bacha Khan. He was a great leader of non-violence. You need the teachings of the saints who believe in pluralism, who believe in diversity, who believe in love, who believe in respect, who believe in passions, who believe in tolerance. So that was the scenario that we became the victim of global, regional, and then we had some issues. Zahur Iqbal may agree with me that some of I will tell you that we had a great social infrastructure, but it has its own weaknesses. For example, there's a big weakness that we have marginalized communities and professions in our society. For example, we have Pashtuns and Pashtuns. It's difficult to explain, but the people, the working class of our society, like barbers, weavers, cobblers, ironsmiths, we look down upon them. We despise them. With the same language, we have the same language. And that marginalized class was used as fuel for the war and for Talibanization. Because even if they become rich, they are not socially acknowledged. They are not socially recognized because they say that he's a barber, his father was a barber. And to be very rude for me to say, when some people, they abuse someone else, they say, you the son of a barber. How much pathetic it is. So we needed a kind of education which can bring harmony within that society, to tell the younger generation that barber is your brother, cobbler is your brother, weaver is your brother, farmer is your brother. Instead of teaching them respect for the people, for the working class, instead of building on the thoughts of the founder of Pakistan, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, he was a very nice man. He believed in secularism. Instead of building on his thoughts, instead of building on Bacha Khan's thoughts of equality and justice, we introduced a kind of curriculum which further created intolerance and iniquity and sectarianism in our younger generation. And we had, you will astonish, even our good values, our good traditions were misused. For example, it is said about Pashtuns, I can't prove my hospitality here because I'm a guest. When you come to Swat, I can tell how much hospitable I am. So, hospitality is a great characteristic or a great value of our society. We are very hospitable. In a sense, you need not to take any appointment from your host. You just knock at the door, and when he comes out, oh, welcome to you. And you have to sit with him, you have to entertain with him. And unless and until he says or she says, I want to go, you have to entertain him or her till that time. We are very hospitable people, but what happened? That great value was abused by the global vested interests. Uzbek, Tajik, Arab, Chechen, all of them were brought to the tribal belt. You're hospitable, okay. Have this Al-Qaeda. Enjoy. Enjoy, you're hospitable. And we were brave. We were brave, of course, we are still brave. But bravery doesn't mean that we should be the fuel of the strategic depth wars. Bravery means that we always defended our freedom. Bravery means that you love your life, you love your independence, and you live, and you love the independence and freedom of others. But even that was misused. And we had a system which is called Council of Elders, notables. I forgot, Maryland? I forgot your name. Joe has been to Afghanistan. Chirga, it is a system in which the notables of the area, they have a great platform and they resolve the issues of the community. And that Council of Elders, instead, in place of democratizing it or making it open for everybody, Jirga was replaced by the warlords. We were pulled back. Instead of making Jirga more special, more enlightened, more up to the calls of the new age, it was taken back, and the Jirga elders, the Jirga notables, who were very wise people, they were being replaced by the warlords with guns. So, in that very scenario, when Talibanization was introduced in Swat, and I should say that the state institutions failed to protect the life and honor and the property of the people of Swat. And I was a school teacher. I loved my school. I started my school from a scratch, from 3 students. I sang the national anthem of Pakistan myself, Pak Sarzameen Shadabad, Keshware Haseen Shadabad. And I was not supposed to be, I had no mandate to be the peace campaigner or joining, making Global Peace Council and join to be the spokesperson of the Council of Notables. But a time comes when as a resident, as a citizen of your country, you have to do all this. When I saw that few of us are standing, and majority of the people are afraid, and they don't want to stand in front of Talibanization. When I saw that our very, very notable elders, they were being targeted, and our even MPs, member of parliaments, they had to leave the area. Then nature abhors vacuum, people come up. And remember, I was not the only one. There were few others also. And the best thing, I think, when you are in trouble, if it is your individual trouble, you have some problem as a patient, or if you have some problem in your family or in your community, the first thing to solve it and to resolve it is to speak the truth. Tell your story, what your story is. That's what I am doing, and that's what I did. What I'm speaking in this hall, I spoke it in Islamabad. I spoke it in Swat. I spoke it everywhere. That was the reason that I had to face the music. But you have to speak the truth and your story. And in that very scenario, you see, 400 schools were bombed, and girls were banned to go to school. The Maulana announced on his FM radio, no girl, bigger or smaller, she will not go to school. He made an announcement in 2009 that after 15th of January, no girl will go to school. Can you imagine? When you are said that your girls will not go to school, and when 400 schools are bombed, and then you see banners on marketplaces, women are not permitted, not allowed. How difficult it is. We were struggling for more rights, we were struggling for more institutions, for a better democracy. And what we had, it was Talibanization snatched it from us. And I usually define Talibanization, it revolves around girls and women. Talibanization is the total negation of women's participation in social, economic, and political activities. Confine a girl, confine your sister, mother, and wife to the home, and 70% of Talibanization is done. If you agree with me or not, but this is what I signed for. So in that very scenario, Malala was very small, but her voice was very big. Because I think that your voice is the most powerful when you speak for yourself. And she wrote a BBC diary. She told her story that what kind of trauma she was passing, and what kind of trauma the other girls were passing during Talibanization. She volunteered herself for 2 documentaries of New York Times, and she spoke on every platform she could. And that was the reason that the Taliban could not tolerate her voice. They had no argument to answer it. They came with gun. And when Malala was attacked, for the first time in the history of Pakistan, people took the banners and they said, "I am Malala and shame on Taliban." Nobody could name the word Taliban, even famous, notable political leaders. They can't dare to name them. They say, these people, those people, the people who did this is wrong. They can't name them. She named them. And when she named them and when she was attacked, people raised the banners, "I am Malala, shame on Taliban." It was a big change in Pakistan. And that was the reason that when she was attacked, the government of Pakistan, they passed a resolution in the assembly that till year 10, the education will be free compulsory education. And many, one school in Sindh and in Punjab also have been named after her. And I know now that some of the, in Sindh province, in school curriculum, they have included some chapters on her. Many families have named their daughters after her. I share you with these things with you, not for the reason that she has become very famous, but for the reason that her sacrifice had an impact locally at her own home. You might have heard about the ban on her book in her very hometown, but it is because of the because of the fear of Taliban. Because they don't want Malala's thoughts should reach to the people. And one last word, you see, as a father, I learned a lot from my wife and from my daughter. It was very difficult when Malala was attacked. And, being a father, it is very difficult that you just are about to lose your most precious daughter, who was not only my daughter, who was my companion, who was my friend, who was the comrade of my caravan. It was very difficult. And I whispered into the ears of my wife that, what do you think, should I be blamed for what happened to my daughter and your daughter? And because she always encouraged me and her, she told, "No, don't talk like this. You stood for righteousness. You stood for truth. You stood for peace. You didn't send her for anything wrong. God will protect her." And I think during trauma, the faith becomes very much important. Trauma, when we found God very close to ourselves during our trauma. Two things were very supportive, very helpful. The staunch faith, the firm faith in God that He will help us. Because somebody asked me that, what would you have thought if she would have died? I had a very strange kind of answer. I told him, yes, I won't have repented, but I would have been very sad and very angry with God. Sorry to say. Because I thought that I'm standing for what God wants. And He had to protect me and my daughter. And the second thing which is very supportive during trauma, that is the love of the people. It's very important when you receive a phone call from someone that we support you. When you see in the newspaper that they are praying for you, it's very important. It brings you out from trauma. And just last thing that, when we met Malala in the hospital for the first time, after 10 days, she was brought to Birmingham on 15 October, and we joined her on 25th October. And when we went to her room, my wife and me, and I think that was the first time and somewhat the last time that she cried when she saw us. So when we saw her lip, I mean, her mouth was crooked. You can't imagine that, how much shock and how much trauma we got. More trauma than the news of her being shot, because we thought, this is not the same girl. Where is her heavenly smile, her beautiful smile? But she was so much resilient that next day when we cried for hours that night. And next day when we went to her again, she's very wise. She knew that my parents are in trouble because of my crooked smile. She told, I'm very thankful to God. Please don't think about this smile. It will recover, and if even it doesn't recover, it's fine. I'm alive. She sacrificed her beautiful image to show the real face of her nation, the real face of her people, the smiling face of her people who have been blamed for terrorism, that every Pashtun and Muslim and Pakistani is a Talib. No, this is not the case. We are very loving people. So that's it. I spoke for very long. And I'm very thankful to everybody who is here. And Malala is not only for her fund, but she has a fund as well. And that fund is meant for the deprived children all over the world. We have started a project in Swat for 40 girls who were involved in domestic child labor. The prize money which she has got, we have given it back to the deprived people of her district to start small businesses. And we went to Jordan to show our solidarity with the Syrian refugees. We will go to Kenya next month. And she spoke from the UN. She spoke to the Sakharov Prize, European Parliament, when she was getting that Sakharov Prize. And she spoke on FMG, female genital mutilation, FGM. And now she has raised her voice for the Nigerian girls who are missing. Them. They are 276 or so. So I think I dedicate this evening to all those girls who are out of school. And you see, this is what we can do. What should you do? You know better than me. Because it's a human tragedy, and we all are human beings. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
So, do you want to take the questions yourself, or do you want me to help you?
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So Ziauddin is willing to take a few questions or comments if people would like, maybe 3 or 4.
We have a wireless microphone here. We'll come to them.
Yeah. I can't really see as well here.
No question. I spoke for so long that
there,
no question.
Back over there.
I think so.
No.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
So, you know, in watching Malala and hearing you speak, clearly she is inspired by you. And I'm wondering what role your parents play in your inspiration.
The role that your parents played in your inspiration.
My inspiration?
Yeah, just as
Sorry, I was asking that Malala is clearly inspired by you. Like, you are a very inspirational person.
Yeah.
And she takes from you. And I'm wondering if your parents played a part in the inspiration that you take.
Yeah, thank you very much. As I told you, that my father was a cleric, a Maulana in a mosque, but he was not a narrow-sighted Maulana. He was quite liberal, accommodative, very nice man, and he was a fiery speaker. I loved when he used to speak in the mosque, and when he used to speak, so my brother also he used to move his lips with his speaking. So, and we used to wait that when he will get emotional. So at a very young age, he was a great inspiration for me. He had some problems after all. We have weaknesses and strength. For example, he did not educate his 5 daughters. It was very much patriarchal society, a very patriarchal family. And my mother was very much concerned about my reading. I will remember that when I used to sit and study at lantern light. We did not have electricity. Lantern, you know lantern? Oh, okay, good that you know it. So when I used to sit at lantern on my charpai, on my bed and study late at night, I remember that she used to come outside and peep in my room that whether she has any problem. And one night, the lantern was I was sleeping, and she knocked the door that you may burn yourself because you are sleeping and the lantern is just nearby you. So I had a caring mother, and her dream was for me to become a doctor, and the same was my father's dream. But my father and my mother, they gave me the love of knowledge, the love to learn. And my father used to pray for me, may you be the star on the sun, on the sky of knowledge. This was his perpetual prayer for me. And one day I joked, and I told him, I used to call him Skul Kaka. We have respect words, he knows. Baba, would you like to pray for a little bit wealth as well? You always talk about knowledge. So, thank you. They were inspiration for me.
My name is Pekisa, and by the way, she looks just like you. Yeah, so I can, without the mustache, I guess, yeah. But
she looks like me. You see, as he quoted me that when I am asked that what special mentorship you gave to your daughter, and I said, don't ask me what I did, ask me what I didn't do. I didn't clip her wings. Mm-hmm. And I always tell that when we say that like father, like son, or as the father, so the son, it is a proverb in English, which I memorized in my school. Why not as the father, so the daughter?
Exactly.
As the mother, so the son.
Yeah.
Why always we give a role to the father?
Yeah. And
so that makes a difference.
So that's why I'm really glad that connection is very strong. It's not just in the look, but in the spirit and everything.
Thank you very much.
So, but I have a couple questions. One, how is Malala today?
Okay.
And second, I'm sure that you miss being in Pakistan. Are you going back to Pakistan, or are you still in Great Britain? And what's the chance that you might go back?
She is, and will she go to Pakistan? No, whether you're going back to Pakistan. Yes, you see, I always miss my country. The first question that how she is, she's fantastic. She's very well, and she goes to school. She enjoys her school. She is a very famous and like a symbol for children rights and girls' rights. But to be honest, she is a normal child at home. She fights with her 2 brothers, And Atal, my younger son, he always complains her that one day she had a lot of gifts, so she had 2 iPods. And my son wanted one, that one should be given to him. And she was not giving to him because she thought that it will waste his time and he will be playing on it all the day. He's very young. So she refused to give it. And then he started. He's very argumentative. Look, girl, you brought us from Pakistan here. We are suffering because of you. We have no friends, no class fellows, no neighborhood. This is just all because of you. And you are so cruel. People say you are the most bravest girl in the world. I say you are the most cruel girl in the world because you are not giving me an iPod. So we have such quarrelsome things in home. We enjoy, and she's still a teenager.
And about returning back to Pakistan?
Definitely we will go back to Pakistan. But I was sharing with someone that before you don't face any tragedy personally and trauma personally, you are not that much careful. And you are maybe very bold, but to take a risk about her life, it will be very unwise and unjust. Unless and until it's not safe for her, she will get her education. And once it is safe tomorrow, we will go tomorrow morning. And if it is not safe, we will still be very careful. At least about her life. I don't say anything about myself. Done, I think.
What do you imagine Malala will be doing in 4 years?
Oh, thank you. What's your name?
Elise.
And which grade you are in?
5.
5. Clap for her. She's very brave. Very good. 4 years later, I think she will be in a university, I think. Which university, I don't know. But she has many options, and this is up to her to choose any good university. The world is there, I think.
What would she like to study?
Yeah, she loves to study PPE in the beginning, philosophy, political science, and economics. And she also have some kind of thinking about law. So I can't say anything definite. And she will come and she will meet you, okay? Thank you very much. Thank you. Best of luck.
Hello, my name is Juan Carlos. I have a question about Pakistan as a nation. Many of my patients come from Pakistan, from different parts of Pakistan. And I heard that there was going to be a talk in Montreal, and the theme of it was Pakistan, the failed state. And I thought that was a very harsh sort of title for the speaker. I didn't attend, unfortunately, but I'd like to know a little bit your views on what does the future hold for your country?
There was a conference, and he says its theme was Pakistan a failed state.
Yeah, is Pakistan a failed state?
That's a very difficult question. You put me in trouble. You see, I think that we can't say it's a failed state, but we as a Pakistani, we the people of Pakistan and the institutions of Pakistan and the democratic leaders of Pakistan, they should realize that states are meant to protect its people's lives and property and honor. This is the basic responsibility of a state. So Pakistan could be a very prosperous and very proud nation, Pakistan could be a very proud country if it is a social welfare state. If it remains security state, it will be a failed state. But if it turns into a social welfare state, a democratic state, a state for the people, and it protects its people, it provides them their basic rights, then there will be a wonderful nation and a great country. So that's the condition. It must be a social welfare state. Then it will be safe and it will survive with honor.
Stay on? Yes, there is. Michael Dworkin, the question is in keeping with our organization, Physicians for Global Survival. We've had great concerns about Pakistan and India, both nuclear states. So if you thought the last question was loaded, this one is even more loaded. What are your impressions about the future of Pakistan and India in their nuclear capabilities?
When you are going to wind it up, it's become more and more difficult. What is his question? I'm joking, it's okay. His question is that India and Pakistan, both nuclear powers, of course.
Yeah, as nuclear weapon states, what do you see as the dangers and prospects for conflict?
Yeah, I don't see any great conflict, between these two countries, because when you are a nuclear, on one hand, it is it's very horrible and it's a great potential for big destruction, but it's a kind of balance, and no power, no country will attack other, because if you use it, then you can't be safe yourself. There is Eastern Punjab and Western Punjab. And if you target Western Punjab, how the Eastern could be safe? So the repercussions will be on both nations and it will not happen. But the thing is that we need more contact from people to people and between the democratic governments, because there is always a strong lobby in India and Pakistan who, for their vested interest, don't want the two nations, the two countries to come closer. Because war is a business, you see, conflict is a business. And some people now say peace is also a business. But war is a business. So the business, the people, for them, conflict and wars, they are business. They may not want a peace between India and Pakistan, but the people of Pakistan want business. We have exchange of cultural delegations, musical concerts, common musical concerts, and many good things are happening. So I'm hopeful that one day we will be neighbors like Canada and America. That is our dream.
I think that we might have time for one or two more questions. I should add that I'm of Indian origin with parents who came from Pakistan.
Yeah.
So we're already together.
Exactly, we are already together.
So do we have another question?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
I'm just wondering, with Malala being so young and already becoming a global icon, really, and a role model for so many people, how do you ensure that she doesn't feel overwhelmed with all of the responsibility that comes with that?
Well, you're right. I think sometimes she feels too much responsibility, and I tell her that don't feel like that. We keep a balance. For example, we have decided that she will not go to any program or function or seminar when she has school days. She will not miss her school. And whenever she can raise a voice for the children, for the rights of the people all around the world, where she suits to raise her voice. So She's doing that, but you're right sometime. She thinks that she has been given a lot of awards and prizes, and it's now a kind of burden on her shoulders. So instead of feeling too much excited that she is very famous, she feels more responsible. There is that thing, you're right to some extent, but I as a father, I tell her that you live your life, the world will be fine, don't worry, and you will play your role. At the moment, she should concentrate on her education, and that is she doing. She is very much concerned and very much worried about her school. And I will just tell you one story. When Gordon Brown told me that Malala will be for the first time speaking in the UN, and I knew it before 3-4 months. And I used to tell, please write your speech, and it's very important occasion. Sometimes parents push, and you must give a very good speech. It's a global platform, this and that. And believe me, she was more worried about her geography homework next day. And when just 10 days were remaining, and it was my last warning, I told her, look, if you cut a sorry figure in the UN, you will be responsible. I'll not be responsible. And then in a vacant period, 2 periods, she sat in the school and she wrote her speech, the first draft of her speech. And when she came home and she told me, I want to share with you, and I have a simple draft and when I started reading, believe me, when I reached to this sentence that when they attacked me, a kind of sentence, weakness and disappointment died and strength was born like this, I don't remember. I started crying. She always jokes of me that, Abba, you are crying too much. You are crying too much. And I called her mother, Torpeka, come here. Malala is the same Malala. She has the same vision, the same passion, and the same courage, and the same resilience. I really cried because I was not expecting that much from her. So that's good.
So, yeah, I think that's probably a good place to end the question period. We're still going to be around here. Thomas and Gina are going to finish off there. But for those of you who don't speak Urdu, Arabic, or Hindi, the salam alaikum, walaikum salam, the peace be with you. And we started off yesterday morning with peace be with you in the Canadian Aboriginal context. So I think that Malala is a real...
Yes, understand Hindi. How many people can understand Hindi or Urdu?
How many people here speak Hindi or Urdu?
How many people?
We got several here. Yeah.
Not several.
Yeah. He's also willing to take questions in Pashto, Hindi, Urdu. So anyway, so thank you again, Ziauddin.
I want to just, in their honor, I want to say a Faiz Ahmad Faiz poem. We will end with it. He said that हम देखेंगे, लाजिम है कि हम भी देखेंगे, वो दिन के जिसका वादा है, जो लोहे अज़ल में लिखा है, हम महकूमों के पाँव फैले, जब धरती धड़ धड़ धड़केगी और अहले हकम के सर ऊपर, जब बिजली खड़खड़ खड़केगी, जब अर्ज़ खुदा के काबे से सब बुत उठवाए जाएंगे, सब ताज उछाले जाएंगे, सब तख्त गिराए जाएंगे, बस नाम रहेगा अल्लाह का, जो गायब भी है, हाजिर भी, जो मंजर भी है, नाज़िर भी, उठेगा अनल हक का नारा, जो मैं भी हूँ और तुम भी हो, और राज करेगी खल्क़ खुदा, जो मैं भी हूँ और तुम भी हो. Thank you.
We do have a little bit of an emergency outside, interestingly enough.
So, sorry, I don't mean to alarm people, but there's a hydro pole with a transformer burning about 10 meters that way. If your car is parked out front, you probably want to check with the police and firefighters that it's not about to be burned. And we may at any time experience power failure, but we're okay here because we believe in candle power.
So, okay, thank you. Before we end and I cede the stage to Thomas and Gina, Actually, for those people who don't speak Urdu or Hindi, maybe you could tell them briefly what your poem was about, and then we'll finish the things off. It was beautiful.
Can you say some of the poem in English, or does it?
Yeah, it's very long, I think.
No.
It's about a dream of the famous poet in Pakistan. He was a revolutionary poet, and he tells that a day will come when the people will rule. That's its quintessence. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think that's a great place to end it for this evening. We were so blessed by the presence of not only you, but all of our esteemed guests this weekend. But I think this, at least for me, and I think everyone probably in the audience would agree with me, was a sure highlight, not only inspirational, but I think I might dare to say visionary, and helping us to sort of provide context to some of the problems that we're talking about and paths forward. So please, ladies and gentlemen, join me in thanking Ziauddin for his wonderful speech this evening. I don't think that there's anything else for the evening. Anything else from your perspective, Neil? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you don't race off too quickly here, though it sounds like you may want to check on your car because that's where the pole is on fire. Apart from that, I hope that we can continue this exciting dialogue tomorrow. Hopefully this evening before you head off and get some rest to come out really enthusiastic tomorrow morning. You can continue the dialogue and have a little bit more chance to meet people and speak. So thank you everyone for tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow.